Free. Good morning, America. This is Yvonne DeVita coming to you from lovely downtown Binghamton. And you all know I don't live in Binghamton. I live in Shenango Bridge. And you know it's not necessarily lovely. It's actually sort of lovely today. It's trying to be lovely. It's warm and the sun is trying to come out. Tom, my husband, actually went out and mowed the lawn. God bless him. So for today on Smart Women Conversations, I have someone very special. She's special because she's going to help us ladies look at our appearance in a better way. Think about ourselves as we look and dress and coordinate things in a better way. And I will tell you, as you know, these are Fashions by Francesca. When the 9-year-old granddaughter was dressing me yesterday, we had a couple of words about how to do the scarf and what earrings I was going to wear. So I have someone who dresses me, but I really need Carol Hanson's help. I really do. And you might also, and it's nothing to be embarrassed about. Carol, isn't that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can all use a little bit of external advice now and then.
I think so. Let me tell you a little more about Carol before we go too much farther. And as you know, I have to put my trusty glasses on these days. Here we go. She is a conscious wardrobe stylist, and that's specifically why I wanted to have her on the show. And as an image consultant, Carol has helped hundreds of female entrepreneurs feel and look fabulous every time they get dressed. She empowers women to feel confident about their bodies. She helps them acknowledge there is no one size fits all or ideal body shape. Her personal journey of overcoming an eating disorder helps her truly understand any woman who says, "I hate my body." She's fully recovered now. She's able to help women recognize they don't have to look a certain way to be beautiful.
Absolutely.
Carol inspires women who have a wardrobe full of clothes but nothing to wear. Who would that be? Who would that? Well, that could be me. And I know a few other women it could be. She helps them discover their sense of style and claim their identity to feel confident every time they get dressed. That is so, Carol, that one sentence right there, to feel confident every time they get dressed, that is just immense. It's just so important. So she's committed to creating awareness and leading by example when it comes to reducing the impact fashion has on the planet. We must change our attitudes towards consumption. That's what she says, and I agree. She says she shops consciously. She asks questions of those who produce our clothes and dispose of our clothes responsibly. So Carol, I want to go right there for a minute. That whole shop consciously thing, and because it is really big now in the world. I'm looking at my area, my house, and I'm trying to minimalize. And I want to be proud of myself because I'm doing okay.
Good.
But talk about shopping consciously.
Okay, so shopping consciously is getting away from the way that we've been for several years, many years, which is that shopping is retail therapy and we should be kind of enjoying shopping and just going out and impulse buying. When we shop consciously, I always advise my clients to do this with several things in mind, to buy clothes in the colors that really light them up, to make sure they're buying styles that work for them, and also, do they really love it, what they're buying, or is it kind of, they put it on the changing rooms, they're not sure, they might take it home or they buy it online and they might try it on. And then it's also, does it go with at least 3 other things in my wardrobe? So it's slowing that whole process down rather than going, oh, I'll just go and put my credit card in the machine, or I'll just go and click on the pay now button on a website. And let's face it, that with online shopping, some people loathe it, a lot of other people love it. But with online shopping, it just becomes so much easier than it is with sort of traditional high street or mall shopping, because we're fed the mailing lists, we're fed from adverts. It's all subliminal marketing, and you know, it kind of follows us around, doesn't it, when we're on the internet, and it's just so easy to put it in your basket and buy it. And one of my mantras about shopping online as well is put it in your basket, but don't just automatically buy it. Think carefully about whether you really need it or not. Maybe put it in your basket and come back to it tomorrow.
Interesting. Well, something you said there really struck me is the ease of shopping online, but thinking consciously about whether what you're purchasing fits with other outfits. And so I kind of do that, but I have to admit, in the past, I haven't. Obviously, none of us have been shopping. We're all kind of home, maybe shopping online. I don't do the clothes online so well. I'm afraid they won't fit. But I do look at it. So is this top going to go with a pair of pants that I have? Now, sadly, if it doesn't, I might go buy a pair of pants, which, to your point, maybe I should not buy the top. I should get one that fits with those pair of pants I have at home.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can take that, if you wish, you can take it a step further. And as I said, is also to look at who you're buying from, because some brands are a lot more sustainable than others in terms of how they're manufacturing, where they're manufacturing, the amount of waste, their whole principles around it, the fabrics that they're using. And some brands are doing it very well with showing a lot of transparency, because within the fashion industry, there isn't a lot of transparency. So what happens is that it gets kind of diluted down the line. So it's sent out, a garment could go around several factories having different parts of it pulled together. And of course, that all adds to the carbon footprint. On top of everything else, because it may be shipped from one destination to another to have another piece added. Also, is with regard to fabrics, are those fabrics sustainable? Because we use an awful lot of cotton in garment manufacture, and cotton is a very water hungry plant. So that means that we are needing to irrigate very dry areas to provide enough water to generate enough cotton.
Holy cow.
And also to increase production, then a lot of cotton growers use pesticides, and those pesticides, of course, are not great for the environment, but they're also not great for the agricultural workers who are applying them, because it's not like many places, it's not like a Western country where, they have health and safety regulations, the workers may be protected. They're just going out and spraying stuff. So they're putting themselves at risk as well. So there's an awful lot to consider. But equally, if you go for synthetic fabrics, you've got the other juxtaposition where they use nylon fabrics, use oil in the process. So there's swings and roundabouts, and that's why there are a lot of fabrics that are being developed. There's things like the Better Cotton Initiative, which is showing farmers how to grow cotton using less water, less pesticides. It's the cottons from there are certified. There are also fabrics being developed from plants, from cellulose of different plants, that are much better for the environment as well. So that's why I say it's about asking questions. So
who would we ask the questions of?
Well, the retailers, and the retailers should be able to tell us. Now, there are some great retail brands out there. Everlane, which is an American brand, I believe they have shops as well as an online presence in America. And if you go onto their website, and it's very much a sort of unisex website with sort of basics of jeans, chinos, t-shirts, that kind of thing. If you go onto the website and you go onto product, they actually give you a traceability report, so you can see who's
Oh,
manufacturing that product, what factories they're going to. You can dig right back.
interesting.
And that is, you know, they're basically saying we're not afraid to say where our products are
Right.
coming from, and that we adopt higher standards.
We, when I say we, I'm going to encompass a whole group of, in a former life, not long ago, I was a co-founder of a very large pet blogging community.
Right.
Okay. And so within the pet blogging community, we were very, very, all of us, focused on everything that was produced for a pet. So there were some pet bloggers that would go deep into how a product was made, where it came from. Especially we were tuned into things like women's makeup.
Yep.
And who to buy from because they don't test it on animals.
Yep.
So asking questions is really, it's kind of our duty to do this.
I
And
absolutely agree.
and so when you say that, I'm thinking, okay, then let's say I want to buy something from Macys.
Mm-hmm.
Macys is, where do I go to ask the question? Do I go to their website and say, hey, I'd like to know how these clothes were produced?
Initially, yes. There is also an app that you can use called Good On You, which you can download for both Android and Apple phones. They also have a website, but it's obviously it's quite useful to have the app as well. So if you are out shopping, and you can look up brands on there, and some of the kind of the audits, if you like, and the way that they've the time lag between them questioning the brands and what the brand's current practices might be, could, you know, there could be a time lag on that, but it will start to give you some guidance. Now, Macy's is obviously a department store,
Yes.
isn't it? So they are going to have brands within that department
Yes.
store, concessions, or however it's managed. So you really got to get back to the brands rather than simply Macy's store to be able to find out, you know, more about where your clothes are coming from.
Well, so we're going to pivot in a few minutes to the actual fashion, and you're going to help dress people. But I'm fascinated by this. I'm fascinated by. It's been a while, and I don't shop as much anymore because, as I admitted to you, I have a closet full of things that recently, within the last year or so, I've looked at it and said, you have to do the buy one, get rid of one principle. So if you buy something, then you have to donate something to one of the local shops.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's great. But I do go into the stores. So within the store now, I'm learning from you that I need to look at the brand I'm buying and find out from them. Now, how much do we hold the department store accountable?
That's an interesting one and a tougher one, isn't it? Because it depends on the department store's principles and so on and so forth. So to be honest, they have to rely on the brands to some degree, and so therefore it is about going back and looking at the brands, we need to put pressure. If we're going to make any changes in this world, we have to put pressure. And if we're buying from the department stores, then we need to apply the pressure there as well and ask questions of them, because otherwise, how are they going to know that consumers are interested about it?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And people do buy by brand. Many people do. I'm not a brand person. I shop for something that catches my eye, that I like. And in my youth, I didn't have to try anything on. I knew I was a size 8. I bought a size 8, then it fit. Today, not so much, because sizes have changed, I think. Do you think they've changed?
Absolutely, they've changed. And two sort of respects on that is, one is different brands seem to have different models for sizing in terms of their kind of their sample sets. But I hate to say it, but there's also a sense of vanity sizing as well, isn't there? That
Mhm.
what used to be a certain size is now they're effectively you're buying bigger clothes, but they're still saying it's a smaller size.
Yes, I don't, and that just really, really annoys me.
It
But
annoys
let's,
the hell out of me as well, because it's conning the consumer, and it's not great from a health point of view either, is it?
right, from what we're going to talk a little bit about. I would like, because I love this part of the conversation, and I'm going to write more about it maybe on the blog post, because there will be time for that, but I don't want to take up too much more time on that, because I really do want to talk about your journey,
Mm-hmm.
and then how, talk a little bit about some fashion sense for women. But your journey right now is most important. Tell us that.
Okay, so I started my styling consultancy about just over 5 years ago, and it was actually on the back of a less successful business. So in 2013, I had gone out with no experience in fashion, e-commerce or marketing, and bought an existing online boutique that was up for sale. Yeah, I think it was a senior moment, if I'm honest. I was working on the basis of how hard could this be, and as it turned out, very hard. And I really struggled to make that business work. And I was doing a lot of marketing offline as well as I was marketing it online. And so I was putting on events, parties, clothes shows,
Wow.
you name it, anything to kind of try and levitate
Sure.
the brand. And what I found was that I was attracting an awful lot of women who wanted to talk to me about the fact that clothes weren't for them. And they could never find anything that looked right on them, that suited them, and that no brands bothered making clothes for them. And when you kind of analysed it down and did my research on it, it came down to body confidence.
Yep.
And I started to do a bit more digging into body confidence, thinking that I was in a minority of someone that had body confidence issues, but then discovering that over 90% of people suffer from some kind of body confidence issue at some point. Now that may be just, I'm feeling a bit bloated, I don't feel good about myself today, through to a full-blown eating disorder. And it was it was a real light bulb moment to me when I went through that, because I really felt that, oh my God, if I can start to do something to help women become more confident about themselves and use my experience of having been through that real mill of an eating disorder, which started when I was about 17,
Wow.
and took away my 20s and my 30s basically. Then that, to me, to turn women's perception round about themselves would be enormous. And so that's why I do what I do.
I think that's amazing. And I want the women watching to really, really take this to heart, separate from the fashion sense and the things that we're going to talk about. Understand that what Carol did by trying and working and struggling with one business, but within that, recognizing that, wait a minute, the people coming to me have another problem that I can help solve.
Yeah.
And so this one business took you to that place where you
Absolutely.
might never have gone.
No, I mean, it's very interesting. When I was at college many years ago, when I left college, I wanted to become a fashion retail buyer at the grand age of 18. Yeah. But by that stage, I was starting to suffer from an eating disorder, and it didn't take much to knock my confidence when I couldn't get a position. And to be honest, I couldn't have coped working in the fashion or the retail industry at that stage, because it is such a pressurized environment. It is so much about image. And I think, to be honest, that it would have dragged me down even deeper than I was. So in a sense, turning to accountancy, which is what I did, it suited me fine, because that was a back office, that was a support role, that was something I could do without thrusting myself out there as I would have done had I been in buying or in the retail sector. But I certainly wouldn't have had the confidence to do it. But in a sense, it's also interesting that I've kind of come full circle to recognise and come back into or come into an area that had always attracted me in the first place.
Exactly. And that's what I tell people, that, you know, when you're on this path in life and the universe is directing you and you come to this like a fork in the road, it really doesn't matter which one you take. You're going to end up in the place that you're supposed to be. Now, it might be a little harder on one side or a little different on another, or you might fall down more, or whatever it is, but you're going to end up where you should be. And this is a phenomenal story that you're sharing with us, because are you happy now? Are you really enjoying what you're doing? And can you say?
I am. I get so much satisfaction from seeing the transformation with clients, and a lot of clients, if I meet them afterwards, to see them hold themselves differently, to stand differently, because they're now feeling confident about their appearance. That to me is just magic. It's gold dust. And so, yes, I'm extremely happy with what I'm doing, and feel that I'm making a difference as well, creating more awareness about the environmental issues, and helping people to discover that they don't need huge amounts of clothes to feel good about themselves either. You know, it's most of us have got what we need. It's about utilizing them more effectively.
And I love you also help people with their closets. And I have nothing to wear, and here I am. I'm going to confess right now, and you know, it is a confession. We moved into this house 2 years ago, and it had 5 bedrooms. 2 down, well, 4 bedrooms, 2 down, 3 down here, excuse me, so 5. Anyway, our master bedroom is here on the first floor, which pleases me because I don't like to do the stairs a whole lot. But the other 2 bedrooms here, one became my office, and then I said, could we turn the other bedroom into a walk-in closet? And my husband's he's remodeling the kitchen, so he's all for it. Now here comes the confession, Carol. Within that room, because it was a bedroom, it had a double closet. The double closet is so stuffed with my clothes that I couldn't buy something new and put it in there because it wouldn't fit. And so I'm embarrassed to say, here I look at that, and I'm lost, Carol. I'm lost on how to make outfits out of the different things I have. I'm kind of anal retentive or something. I don't know. I have the whites here and blues here and the purples. I mean, I do it that way. But Carol, I'm looking at it going, when I met you and we talked and everything, I started looking at it and going, Carol needs to fly over here or do something and look at my closet.
Well, when lockdown's over, maybe we can. But seriously, it's the process I go through with clients and helping them with their closets is, we start off by discovering who you want to show up as. So what is your identity? Because you're right, clothes are a fantastic way of expressing who we are, and a way of communicating with other people. Let's face it, only 7% of communication is actually verbal. And I appreciate that the 93% is made up of a number of things, but our clothing plays a big part in that.
Yes.
So getting that message right and communicating effectively through our clothing is so important. It makes it easier for people to understand us, and for us to be understood and to be heard by other people. So discovering our identity, and then when we've looked at that, then I ask them to tell me about their favorite outfit and get their favorite outfit out of the closet. And the reason for that is to help them really understand what it is that lights them up. And I will guarantee we will find part of their style identity within that outfit. So it may be that they're passionate, they're very vibrant, and they like purple. And that vibrancy comes across with the colors that they choose. You know, they don't wear beige, for example, because beige makes them feel low or depressed, or they're not very creative or productive when they're wearing beige. That's just a really quick example.
Yes.
Types of styles that they choose will also show up their identity. You know, are they someone that prefers more of a formal look, or do they like something that's a bit more romantic and feminine?
Yeah.
All of this will come out when they start to show me their favorite outfit, the fabrics that they choose. If you're someone that considers yourself quite sexy and extrovert, for example, then you're more likely to have glossy fabrics, satiny fabrics in your wardrobe, that kind of thing. That makes sense, rather than something that is, let me just think, like a plaid or something like that, a check gingham shirt. So it's about associating those clothes with that person and what they're saying. Then we use that, if you like, as a kind of a model while we go through their wardrobe. So we kind of, not to have duplicates of that all the way through, but to say, go back to that as a reference point and say, okay, is that Yvonne, for example? So if Yvonne's showing up in her favorite outfit, does the outfit she's now showing me and is trying on, does that reflect who Yvonne really is? Now, you may turn around to me and say, but Carol, I have all these different activities, so I have a different look for, whether I'm going out shopping or whether I'm broadcasting on podcasts, blah, blah, blah. Yes, but you will still have those values and that identity will still show through whatever activity you're doing. Two people can be going out shopping and they will still have their individual identities. If they choose to show up as that, and if they understand what their identities are.
I so agree. Now, let me just tell you, when I'm working with women, and even my writing, I'm writing to build their confidence, one of the things I tell them is how to use their voice. And I want them to understand that their voice is more than just the words they say and the sound of the words as they come out. Their whole body is part of their voice and how they dress. And you have just made my point 100% clear, and better than I made it, because the phrase here, and you've probably heard it also, dress for success.
Absolutely.
It means something. In fact, when I first became an entrepreneur, a friend of mine said, you have to get a black jacket. You have to get a black jacket because that will tell people you're serious. And I'm like, okay, but I don't want to wear a black jacket.
No, because it's not you.
Yeah, it's not me. So now that we've talked a little bit about closet, and we talked about the responsibility of clothes, which is really huge, and I kind of would love to talk about that even more in another time with you, because it's so important. Let's talk about body image with women especially, because women come into all shapes and sizes. And here's another confession. I used to be very thin, and I was a size 8, and I was that way for most of my adult life. Until I became an entrepreneur, sat in my chair and didn't pay attention to my diet and didn't pay attention to exercise. So I put on some weight. It does influence me. It influences me more than I thought it would. And now I'm not what I was. And it's hard. It's hard for my brain to now shop and say, well, you can't wear that anymore because you're not a size 8.
Yeah, it is tough, but accepting that you're a different dress size. And I had this when I was overcoming my eating disorder, that I would go out shopping, and I was probably a US size 2 when I was at when I was at the height of my eating disorder, and probably about a US size 4 was kind of where I stabilized. And then as I started to put on weight, what I then found was if I went into a shop and I tried something on, really loved it, tried it on, and it was a bit tight, it just didn't fit properly because I had started to put on weight, I'd actually walk out the shop without buying it. I would not even try on the bigger size because it was about acceptance. And at that stage, I hadn't got that acceptance. Since recovering, I've realized that lumps and bumps show, but labels don't, is one of my phrases.
I love it.
Because it's true, it's the fit that's important. And as we said earlier, each brand manufactures to a slightly different size. And if they're using different factories, which very often brands do to manufacture their range of clothes, then you can even find that the sizing changes within that brand as well, in terms of, you know, you may find that some dresses, for example, will fit better than other dresses in, I don't know,
Yes.
yeah, that makes sense. And again, it's because they're starting from a different baseline, if you like. So the size label, it's really important to get your head around the fact that it's not about the size label, it's about having the right shapes and styles for you. So what I do when I work with my clients is I start with, okay, tell me a part of your body that you really love. And some of them will struggle a little bit with that. And some of them may even get to the stage where they can only say, oh, well, I like my eyes. Okay, well, let's start with what colors make your eyes stand up, light up. Let's show off your body from your eyes point of view. That might seem really trite, but if a client can really grasp onto the fact that we're dressing her to show off the part of her body that she loves, then it's a great starting point. We'll look at necklines that will show her eyes up. We'll look at accessories that will really draw attention to her eyes, because at the end of the day, what you want to do is draw attention to the bits of your body that you love so that you can play down the bits that you're not so keen on.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And the ideal body shape, if you like, that we see in the Western world is the hourglass figure. So it's the hips and bust are in alignment, and then there's a definitive curve in at the waist.
Right.
Now, the majority of women in the Western world have a pear-shaped body. So that means that their shoulders are slimmer than their hips. And part of that is through a sedentary lifestyle. And it's also a lot to do with diet and the way that we've evolved as well, and our shape has changed. So if we're looking to dress a lady who is a pear-shaped, a woman who is pear-shaped, then what we do is we try and create balance. So we'll put more bulk up on the top half and play down the bottom half so that you create more balance again. So you're creating that ideal shape simply by the types of clothing or accessories that you're wearing. And it's all about fooling the eye of the person who's looking at you, in a sense. Because a lot of styling is to do with optical illusions. So it's a lot about effectively dressing so that you can tell someone how to look at you.
That I'm just like, how true is that? How my brain is just going, this is exactly the phrase to teach people how to tell people how to look at you. We're coming to the end here of our short time, and I don't want to stop because there's so much to learn, and for women especially, they're held to a bit of a higher standard, I think, than men.
Yeah.
And they're taught very young. It's sometimes not consciously, but we mothers, the way we dress, the way we talk, the way we act, and what we do, it teaches our children, our daughters and our sons, so to speak. But within tell us now, before we sign off, I want people to understand they can connect with you on your website, and you have courses there, and tell us some of the things you're going to be doing coming up soon.
Okay, thank you. So my website is carolahanson.com, and we'll be popping this in the show notes as well, won't we?
Yes.
I'm on the social media platforms, and you'll find me most on Facebook under Carol A. Hanson.
You have a great Facebook page. Just let me tell people, your Facebook page is awesome.
Thank you. I also have a Facebook group which is called Awesome Women with Style, which is where we chat more. I love Facebook groups because you can engage more with your community on there. And I'm very active on LinkedIn as well as Carol A. Hanson. Yes, on my website, I do have online courses running. So I have an evergreen course, which is about accessorizing. And I also have a course called Minimum Wardrobe, Maximum Style. But what I'm going to be launching next week are a couple of online services. So firstly, I'm going to invite people to have a power hour with me to help them to dress for Zoom calls. In particular, and because so many of us are doing video recording and video calls at the moment, and there are certainly some tips and techniques that I can give you to make sure that you look great on camera. I mean, we were talking before we started recording, weren't we, about colors to wear on camera and what not to wear on camera. And then I'm also going to be bringing my full suite of services in terms of being able to do color analysis, as well as body image consultation and wardrobe services. I'm bringing that all online because we're recording this now at the end of April 2020, and we just don't know when we're going to get back to being away from social distancing. It's not going to be in any time soon. So, and I'm also working now in more and getting out to more women's groups across the globe as well. And that also means that by bringing my services online, that I'm going to be able to effectively serve my community internationally as well as in the UK.
This is so wonderful. So ladies, please, yes, I'm going to put all of this and more in the blog post and the show notes, as Carol says. Sadly, Carol, this isn't going to go up for a couple of weeks, although because this is so important, I may put an extra one up next week because, you know, we talk at Nurturing Big Ideas, and the women that I talk, we talk about our business and our journey and our reinvention and how it is to be in business. But at the very foundation of that is how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about the way that we look. And so what you're offering is so vital and important. I think maybe I need to do 2 videos next week so I can share it with people. And I can't thank you enough for being on the show. Maybe we'll do this again. Maybe we can talk further about some of the things. You're fascinating. I did not think about the conscious shopping and the responsible shopping. And that is now something that I'm going to be very, very tuned into. And I would love maybe to do this again and talk about it some more.
Yeah, there's so much more. I mean, we've only scratched the surface, hardly even scratched the surface, I should say. So yeah, I'd love to, and it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you, Yvonne, and I just hope that your community are going to get a lot from it.
I absolutely think so, and I can't wait to share. Thank you, Carol. This is Yvonne signing off from Smart Women Conversations, and we'll see you next week.